Have you noticed how the conversation around sustainability in business just feels different lately? It's not just some nice-to-have section in an annual report anymore. Something has fundamentally shifted. Drawing on a really insightful discussion from the ESG Exchange, we're going to break down exactly why sustainability has gone from theory to a core, must-do business imperative. Let's jump in. This quote from Paydar Duffy just nails it, doesn't it? We're in a gear shift. For years, it felt like we were just talking about standards and frameworks in the abstract, but now it's all about application. Sustainability isn't sitting on the sidelines anymore. It's become a really pragmatic, central part of corporate strategy. Companies are finally focused on its actual business value.
So that's the big question, right? Why now? What are the massive forces that are pushing this change through the entire corporate world? Well, the answer really starts with a core concept that's completely changing how businesses have to see themselves.
And that concept is called materiality. The easiest way to think about it is like having two critical lenses that businesses now have to look through. It's no longer just about what matters to the company, but also how the company matters to the world. Let's, break that down a little.
So, this breaks it down into two pretty distinct views. On one side, you have financial materiality. As Speaker Daryl Scott put it, this is the company looking out and asking, how does the world outside impact me? It's a very internal view, focused on survival. But then you have impact materiality, which flips the script and asks, how do we impact the world outside? And this view is being driven by everyone else, regulators, customers, all of society.
And here is the absolute crucial link between those two ideas. A company's impact on the world, that's not just some fuzzy ethical concern anymore. As Daryl Scott points out so clearly, that external impact will eventually, inevitably, circle right back around and become a financial problem. I mean, if your customers decide they don't like what you're doing, well, your bottom line's going to feel it. The two are becoming totally inseparable.
Okay, so if impact and finance are now totally linked, what's actually forcing companies to pay attention? Well, it really boils down to three huge, powerful forces that are pushing sustainability right to the top of the agenda. Over 50%. Let that sink in for a second. And we're not talking about individual shoppers here. This is the percentage of corporate buyers, businesses, actively looking to cut unsustainable suppliers out of their lives. That means if you're not taking this stuff seriously, you literally risk getting kicked out of major supply chains. End of story.
So it all comes together in this kind of three-pronged attack. You've got the investor push. They want credible, long-term plans, not just talk. Then there's the regulatory push, with regulators seeing sustainability issues as a real threat to the whole financial system. And of course, you have the customer push, from both corporations and individuals who are more and more choosing to do business only with companies they see as good actors. It's a perfect storm of pressure, really.
But the consequences of ignoring this whole shift, they go way beyond just losing a few customers or dealing with new rules. There are these hidden and frankly devastating costs of failing to act with integrity in this new world.
This is such a critical insight from Doris Kadar. When a company gets hit by a scandal, yeah, the fines and legal fees are bad, but that's just the start. The real damage, the stuff that you can't just plug into a spreadsheet, is the collapse of employee morale, the erosion of trust with all your partners, and the quiet exit of investors. Those are the costs that can truly permanently cripple a business.
And this brings us to a whole new way of thinking about this. Building what Doris calls an integrity infrastructure, it's not just a defensive move to avoid getting fined anymore. It's a proactive, strategic choice. The data is pretty clear. Companies that really commit to integrity are just more resilient. They consistently outperform their peers in the long run. It is, without a doubt, a competitive advantage.
Okay, so we've established why sustainability is so critical. But this leads to an even bigger, kind of mind-bending realization, a real turning point. The very nature of risk itself has changed, and our old tools, they might not be up to the job anymore.
This is the key question for every risk manager, every accountant, every CFO out there. I mean, we've got decades of these tried and true tools for managing risk. They've worked in the past, so why on earth wouldn't they work for huge challenges like climate change?
And, well, the short answer is, they probably won't. Dr. Paul Pritchard makes this powerful argument that we are fundamentally shifting from a world of manageable risk, where we can use historical data and probabilities, to a world of deep uncertainty. For something like climate change, looking at the past is just not a reliable guide for what's coming next.
And to describe this new reality, the Bank for International Settlements came up with this term, the green swan.
Now, unlike a black swan, which is a totally unexpected event, a green swan is something we know is certain to happen. We just have no idea exactly when or how bad the fallout will be, and that requires a completely different way of thinking.
I absolutely love this quote. It just perfectly captures why the old way of trying to predict a single, likely outcome is basically obsolete now. Instead of trying to guess the future, businesses have to use tools like scenario analysis to get ready for a whole range of possible futures. It's about building resilience, not just being right.
So, if the risks are new and our old tools need an upgrade, what's the path forward? Well, it's going to require new skills, new capabilities, and maybe most importantly, a new, much more collaborative mindset.
And here it is, the biggest roadblock, 63%. That is a staggering number of employers who say the skills gap is their single biggest barrier to making this transformation happen. As Doris Kadar argues, this isn't just some HR problem to solve later. It's a direct risk to the integrity of the whole system. We can't move forward if our people aren't equipped for the journey.
The solution, then, really has to be a team effort. First, we have to acknowledge that this skills gap is a strategic risk, full stop. Second, we have to actively upskill our teams and transform roles for the future. And third, we need to build what's called mutual reliability, basically shared frameworks so that everyone, from auditors to investors to the company itself, can actually trust the data. It's about building a system that turns promises into results everyone can believe in.
So, that gear shift we talked about? It's here. It's happening. The forces of finance, customers, and regulators are hitting the accelerator. The very definition of risk has been rewritten. The only question left, really, is a personal one. Is your organization ready to get behind the wheel?